Hi folks, eWolf here. Okay, in my last video I promised you that I will explain the usage of virtual VLC in my lab. So in this video I will explain my setup that I used during my certification of CCNA wireless. So actually this is what I used in my lab. This was like topology that I created for my lab setup. Maybe it's a little bit overkill for the, let's say, simple labs that you will use if you're interested in CCNA wireless, but if you want to do some exploration and further education, this could be very useful. Okay, let's start. As I mentioned previously, my lab was integrated in my home LAN. So you can see Zixel, that was my ISP router at the time. TP-Link was just a dummy switch that you saw at the side of the rack. I also had one Cisco 2950. Basically it didn't serve nothing except it provide me more ports for my other equipment. You can see here, this is my server. That was that big 4U server that I called Nihilum. I had the SXI there, and you can see the address. Next I had two Cisco 2811 routers. They both had net and they both had DHCP with the following VLANs, as you could see written other sides. Connected to them there was like two 3560 switches. There was one 8-port and one 24-port. That was from my old setup. You didn't saw the 24-port 3560 because I removed and upgraded to 48 PoE 3560. And in this switch I had two vWLCs. As explained, I used two physical ports. Reason for that was that one port was for the out-of-band management, and that was directly attached to the 2950. As you can see, all three virtual VLCs have out-of-band management ports attached directly to my home network with the address from my home network. So I could manage them even when when none of these other switches or routers are turned on, which was way easier for the initial setup and much less noise. And also it's a good practice if you are going to deploy something like that in your production. So if you're going to deploy virtual VLC in your production, it's actually good idea to have two physical ports on your PC server or whatever you're using for virtual VLC hosting. So as I said, they're using each one physical port for the out-of-band management, and there's also additional port that was directly attached to the switch per usual VLC connection guide, let's say, from Cisco. So I mean, in most labs, if you're just doing the lab, you don't need out-of-band management. So most of the people just use single port for the both connections, and they choose different port. I mean, they configure different ports for it, and that's basically all. So okay, what's next? Oh, I had like two access points on both switches. I would really attach more, but 2 is more than enough. Okay, that was it. There were some also Linux client. Oh yeah, that was also running on the server. So that server also had like 4 virtual Linux clients that were also had physical ports attached to the switches. So you can test your VLANs. So you can test DHCP to see if you can ping something, something like that. Like usual Cisco lab. It's also a good thing to use in all other labs if you are going to no need to use like Raspberry Pis or additional PCs to test. Just put your virtual Linux and that's all. Okay, what do I need to explain next? Oh yeah, as you can see, I had 2 virtual VLCs here. That's because I wanted to configure and test the backup. So if one of these was turned off, the other would take all these APs and continue working. So that was to test that configuration. And basically, oh yeah, I forgot. I also pronounced this one as a master for this part of the network, and this was master for this part of the network. Yeah, and that's all. That was my wireless lab setup for my CCNA wireless. Okay, that's all. I hope that you like this setup. If you have any questions, comments, please ask, write. I will try my best to answer any questions. So, that's all. Evil signing out.